I love it. Okay, the old days, the good old days. Anyways, YouTube, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notifications button. That way you'll be alerted every time there's new information from this channel. Go back, give the video a thumbs up if you approve of the content afterwards. And if you don't. Twitter, search Always Irish or at JKZND4. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want me, you can get me. Merchandise link below in the description. If you want one of these Nike hats or an Always Irish shirt, please indulge. Help yourself. Okay? So, here's where we're at. After letting the immediate news of the proposed new CFP structure marinate, I took some time to look at the big picture of all these changes, and I've come up with the 5 things Notre Dame needs to do to succeed in this new model. Now, by succeed, I don't mean making the playoff and then never winning anything anybody cares about. That is not my idea of success, and Notre Dame under Brian Kelly is past that being an acceptable bar of success. And that is a compliment to Kelly and the players and the whole program that nobody who follows Notre Dame or loves Notre Dame is happy with just making it anymore. Now, let's keep in mind, I realize fully this structure has not been officially finalized and parts of it could change. I am open to that. I understand that. But for now, I'm going to run with the notion that's what is being proposed is what it's going to be. Okay? Here's one thing I think could change, and I've seen some writing about this. I think there may be a push for an additional round of games to be played at the higher seeds home stadium on campus rather than these cold, neutral, corporate sites. It drives me crazy. Call me old school, call me a boomer, whatever you want to call me. But I think, and this isn't just Notre Dame specific, but a large part of what makes college football so special is that unique feeling of a home campus football game, a big-time matchup, big brand name teams, beautiful weather in the fall, whatever it is. That feeling of an on-campus home game cannot be replicated. The NFL's different. College football owns that feel. And when you start taking games out of that and putting them in these cold, neutral site domes and labeling it with all your advertising, I understand that's good for money, but I personally feel it takes away from the collegiate vibe that we've all grown up with and love. That's all. The most recent example of this is Notre Dame and Wisconsin. I would love for Notre Dame to go play at their place at night and experience that, and for them to do the same at Notre Dame. Why it has to be Soldier Field and the Green Bay Field, I don't know. I would like those games to be on campus so everybody can enjoy the vibe that we've all come to love so much about college football. That atmosphere is so much to do with the excitement of every home football weekend for every college football fan. I'm down for more of it, even if the weather's cold. I'm a Midwest guy. Chicago area doesn't really bother me. So I think there's going to be a push for another round of these games to be played at home venues. So I do think that could change. But here we go. My list of the 5 things Notre Dame must do to succeed under this model. Now, some of these might seem really lame and obvious to you guys, which is fine. I just felt a need to talk this out, work this out, that if we're going to this format, my mentality changes a little bit about what we need to do to succeed in this model with some challenges we maybe didn't have before. Here we go. Number one, Notre Dame needs to get much more well-rounded as a team and as a program. Here's what I'm getting at. Here's where my mind goes when I start going down this path. How many years under Brian Kelly has the offense been good enough to win big games, but the defense is not? 2015 comes to mind. How many times has the defense held up its end of the bargain, but the offense couldn't do anything in the biggest environments? 2018 playoff, 2020 ACC championship and playoff. That instability has to change for multiple reasons, and here's why. Here's how I'm looking at this. Thinking back to Brian Kelly's chances to win a national title at Notre Dame, and he's had a few. In my opinion, it's clear to me 2012 was by far Kelly and Notre Dame's best chance to win it all. Here's why. They went 12-0 playing traditional powers, many of which happened to be down that year. Not Notre Dame's problem. They ran the table, went 12-0. All you had to do, and I'm saying all like it's easy, but follow me. All you had to do was outplay, outlucky bounce, outluck Alabama for one game, and you would have been champions. We did not have to be the better team overall through the year or years or whatever. You just had to find a way to win by 1 point in one game. Have things bounce the right way. They make a few errors. You're playing out of your minds. Great. That's all you had to do. One game for 3 hours, be better than the other team. So we were out-talented, no doubt. In that case, you just needed to be better than them long enough to get through one game. Catch some good bounces. Catch Alabama on a down day, whatever. And you're the champions. It didn't happen, but that's all that needed to happen. One game, one night is all you had to be better than them for. They could be the better program overall, team overall, have way more talent. All you had to do was find a way to beat them one time, and you're champions. Okay? Notre Dame will continue to be playing at a talent deficit versus the elite of the elite playoff teams, much like we've been seeing play out recently. It's much easier to get lucky and you play great and get some good bounces and win one game than it is to do it 4 times in a row. There's no such thing as getting lucky and winning 4 games in a row against top 11 teams. Under this new format, a title will be earned for sure. Okay, for sure. So, being that we now need to beat 4 top 11 teams, Notre Dame's got to be way more well-rounded. There's just no way around it. Notre Dame cannot afford to be held back anymore by one major area of this team not holding up its end of the bargain when it matters the most. You can maybe get lucky and beat a team that has way more talent than you one time at the end of the year. You're never going to pull that off 4 times in a row. Evidence of this, look at what's happened in our playoff chances. Okay? So we need to be much more well-rounded. You can't have these uneven weaknesses when you go play these talent-laden programs with everything on the line. Is this a fancy way of saying get better at recruiting? I guess so, but it still needs to be talked about and stated. I'm going to go over 3 areas of specific interest in this regard with this bullet point now. Okay? So, everybody knows Notre Dame's offensive line U. Notre Dame is tight end U. And much to everybody's delight and surprise, a historical weakness defensive line for the last 20, 25 years is now a legitimate strength of the Notre Dame program. Those things are fantastic. Everybody loves them. We love throwing around tight end U, O-line U, and even now starting to talk about the defensive line lineage being pretty darn good. Those things are fantastic, but not enough. Not enough. Like, we all love those accolades and bragging about it, and Quentin Nelson murders people every week. I know all that, but I don't see any trophies in the Notre Dame case. Okay? So while it's great to be recognized that you're excelling in those areas, there's 3 new areas I need you to excel at while you continue to do an excellent job in the 3 I just discussed. Okay? So you need to maintain the strengths and the pipelines you have with offensive line, tight end, defensive line. This isn't breaking news, folks. You need an elite quarterback. If you have any dreams of Notre Dame winning 4 games in a row against top 11 teams to win a title, if you don't have an elite quarterback, forget it. Forget it. Not happening. Not ever. Not ever. We have had pretty strong, good quarterback play, but not elite, and we haven't even come close to having an offense that could compete in the playoff era. We've seen that. That is not open for discussion or debate. We've had a really good but not elite quarterback and haven't been able to compete at all in the playoff era. Okay? Not good enough. Elite quarterback or forget it. Period. To win 4 of these games in a row against teams of this caliber. Elite, signal calling, or forget it. Don't even freaking bother. That's number 1, and that shouldn't be a secret to anybody. I'm not breaking any news here. That's number 1, first and foremost. Okay? Number 2, the wide receiver position. Here's the deal. I'm going to get up. Some people are going to say this is far-fetched and unrealistic. I'm just telling you what it's going to take to win in this format. Okay? It's hard enough to win 2 games, and we haven't even sniffed winning 1. Now you're talking about double that? Notre Dame's got to get a lot better, a lot quicker. Quarterback, got to be elite, or you're going to get beat, period. Here's the deal with these wide receivers. I need an elite go up and get it freak. I need an elite speed slot guy, and I need a reliable possession guy. No, I don't want one of those in one class, and then in a couple years we had the slot guy, but then the go up and get it freak's gone, but then there's a possession guy. No. That ain't going to cut it. That ain't what I'm talking about. I need all those guys on the team at the exact same time. There's no other way. There's no other way. So I need a go up and get it freak. I need elite speed slot guy. I need a reliable possession guy. All elite or borderline elite, all playing at the same time, all peaking at the same time, all making each other look good by making people defend him and opening up somebody else. This is modern college football winning, okay? You need that or forget it. You need it or forget it. We have already seen what happens when we think we're just going to be able to pound the ball and run first and all that. It has not worked out well for us. So it is not up for debate. That's a position group in the modern era more important than it's ever been. Got to have multiple of these guys to get the thing going good enough to win 4 games in a row. All at the same time. Okay? All at the same time. That's what wins now. These areas have not been reliably good enough, and it hasn't even been close. And the evidence of that is clear to anybody who's been watching these playoff appearances. Okay? So the third window of this, as far as what wins now in modern college football that we need to beef up on, hey, I love the O-line lineage, tight end lineage, and the defensive line depth and strength we built, but it ain't enough to win. So it's not good enough. I can't be satisfied. It's not good enough, and it ain't up for debate. Here's number 3, secondary. Okay, secondary. It makes sense, guys. The passing aspect of college football is more relevant than it ever has been. By automatic default, defending the pass, its importance has also skyrocketed with modern college football as well. Okay, so you look at a guy like Julian Love. You're looking at a guy like Hamilton. Everybody loves those guys, and so do I. Here's the problem. I need about 2 of each of those on the team at the exact same time to get this program where I need it to be. That's what I need. That's what I'm asking for. You know, everybody goes, oh, secondary, yeah, we had Julian Love. That was awesome. Yes, it was. We have Hamilton. That's fantastic. But you can't have exposure weakness opposite these guys. You're going to get exposed by good coaching staffs, good wide receivers, and good quarterbacks that know where the weakness is. So that's what I'm talking about. I need 2 of Love and 2 of Hamilton out there at the exact same time to get me where I want to be and to get me where I think we need to be to win 4 of these type of games in a row. That's just how I see it. What we've been doing is not good enough. No one could argue it. The results are in front of you. The results are in front of you. Okay? Have to have it. And 2022 looks like it could be very, very promising in terms of recruiting in the secondary, and you need it. Modern college football dictates you need that to win. I'm going to illustrate this even further for you with a statistic. In the 5 losses the last 4 years that Notre Dame has had, we have given up an average of 8.5 yards per pass attempt in those 5 losses. That is not per completion. That is per attempt. So that is including 0 yards for throwing the ball in the stands because a play broke down. Incomplete passes. Screenplay doesn't work. You burn one in the turf. Those zeros are all averaged out in this. 8.5 yards per attempt we've given up in the 5 losses. That is unwinnable college football. You can't beat anybody giving up 8.5 yards per pass attempt. That means you're getting burned. That is Burn City, USA. Can't win that way. Can't do it. Okay? Can't do it. So, aside from our traditional strengths in recruiting and development that we all know and love and appreciate and recognize, these big 3 need to be the priority or you're not winning anything in this playoff era. Yeah, you might win that first home game if it's at home in the cold weather, and after that, forget it. Okay? Sustain deep runs into this new playoff format. Elite quarterback play, elite wide receiver play, elite secondary play. Those are all required. They're not optional. Those are required if you're going to make any noise and win 4 games in a row. Okay? So, if you want to say to me, damn, John, this sounds really hard. You're basically asking for a complete full team full of elite athletes everywhere. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm asking for. We're talking about being a champion. Being a champion is hard. So, yeah, I'm asking a lot. You're damn right. It should be hard to build a champion. Okay? So that's number 1. No more uneven teams. Every aspect needs to carry its weight. It's the only way you're going to win 4 games in a row against 4 good teams who each will represent and present unique and different challenges. You got to be way more well-rounded than we've been, where we're dragging a handicap around, whether it's the offense or the defense or whatever. You have no chance under this format to do anything. It's way harder than winning one game in the BCS era or even two now. You got to be way more well-rounded to survive this gauntlet. That's what I need to see. So that's number one. No more unevenness. Let's move on to number two, shall we? Number two is the most obvious one on this entire list. Make the playoff every single year. Make the playoff every single year. Oh, John, that sounds hard. 11-1, 10-2, you should be in it. You should be in it. So, obviously, the more spins at the wheel you have, theoretically, you got to be in it to win it. So, you got to make this expanded field every single year. If you're not eligible for a bye, you're not eligible for a bye. But you got to be in it every single year. Undefeated, you're obviously in. 11-1, you're obviously in. I even think at 10-2, Notre Dame should be safe unless some of these goofy stipulations where some high school team who plays in a conference I've never heard of gets the bid over Notre Dame because they won their conference I've never heard of. So unless one of those weird nuances come in with who automatically gets in who, even though somebody's ranked way above them, they're going to get jumped, all that stuff. So the best way to avoid that is go 12-0 or 11-1 at the worst. But I think most years, looking back at final rankings, there's 3 lost teams that end up in that top 12 vicinity. So make the playoff every year. More spins at the wheel. Gotta be in it to win it, okay? Here's number 3. That's an extension of number 2. You got to land that home game in round 1. That's a big deal. Regardless of the weather conditions in South Bend in December, which could range from 60 degrees and pleasant to 20 degrees and snow and wind, regardless of the weather part of it. Notre Dame plays good at home lately. It's a home field crowd. You know it'd be wild. People would be happy to have an extra game to go to. You got to land that home game in round 1. Okay? Number 4, pray for cold and nasty, windy, snowy weather and hope the team that comes to play you is a very warm, soft, warm weather team. If you're trying to gain an advantage of we already have to play an extra game, have an extra hurdle, make that as easy on yourself as possible by making another team come to South Bend. Preferably a southern, warm weather environment team. Make them come up to South Bend. The colder and shittier it is out, the better mood I'll be in. I will sit there and freeze. I don't care. But I know Miami or Florida State or an SEC team, an ACC team from down south, they're not going to like it. They're not going to like it. Okay? So number 3 is be good enough in the regular season. You land a home game round 1. Number 4, pray for the crappiest, coldest weather possible, and that it's a southern warm weather, soft-minded team coming to play you up north. Okay? Here's number 5. Win that battle, ride that momentum into the next round against better teams in a tougher environment. That round 1 game needs to be a momentum launching pad game. Okay? So, couple things about my bullet points. There will be, to some degree, a recruiting feather in the cap just by making the playoff, even if you don't make it far into it. To some extent, it is a feather in the recruiting cap that you could go on the road, tell these kids we make it almost every year. You could be the difference between just making it and making it all the way to the end, all of that. That is legitimate and will play out to a certain extent. It's going to annoy me that if this is the way it goes and we don't make it far, but they're bragging about being in the first round only, it's going to annoy me if it gets to that point, but it is going to be a valuable recruiting tool to a certain extent. This needs to be a us versus the world mentality. You are with us or you are against us. Embrace the hate. Embrace the extra hurdle. Recruit guys that want the challenge and will embrace the chance to play an extra game compared to everybody else in the playoff. Okay? Recruit guys that will feed off that and be energized by that extra challenge. Okay? Now, here's how we're going to end. And the more I'm thinking about this is my biggest question of this entire dynamic and experiment. Here is my biggest question. Let's say this format is what they're talking about. And whenever they implement it, we go along with it for 5 years or whatever. We make the playoff almost every year in that window, and we gain no traction. Maybe we win that first game a couple times and then get killed, whatever, get beat up the first game. I don't know. But let's just say it goes bad and we are not able to gain any traction in this 4-game format over a handful of years. It just goes bad for us. Okay? Is there a tipping point at which Notre Dame must consider joining the ACC? That's where I think this entire discussion comes full circle. If we thrive in this environment and it provides a structure where we feed off that 5-seed home game momentum and we can make it deeper, fine, cool, great. That's what we all want. But my question is the other side of the coin. If this goes poorly and it's clear we're just not going to be able to do anything consistently in this environment, is there / what is the tipping point where Notre Dame's got to reevaluate where they are and how realistic their path to a title is? I love independence. I love it. It's a super unique feature of college football Notre Dame history. I value independence. I respect how it started with Rockne bringing the team all over to get exposure for Notre Dame. I love the backstory. I love everything about it. Okay? But at what point does the scale tip from you valuing your independence so much versus winning another title in all of our lifetimes? I hope this equation and consideration never has to be thought about. But what if it does? How much evidence is there for that scale to tip to the point where the powers that be realize we're never going to win another title in this environment? We might need to join the ACC. I don't know if there is a tipping point. Maybe there's not one. Maybe there isn't. Maybe there is. I don't know, but I'm philosophically asking that question and wondering what needs to happen and what it needs to look like for that to be considered. Maybe no matter what, it's never going to happen till this committee says you're not eligible for the playoff unless you're in a conference full time. So that's kind of where I'm at with this after letting this all marinate. I recap my 5 things Notre Dame needs to do to succeed in this new playoff era. Number 1, no more uneven squads. Every group has to pull their weight in the biggest games against the best teams, or don't even bother. Number 2, spins at the wheel. Make the damn playoff every year. Number 3, be good enough you can land the home game round 1. Number 4, I hope for some cold, nasty, windy weather coming off that lake against a warm weather, soft team that doesn't like it. I want to see those neck things, the full neck face things, and all you could see is their eyes, and they're all bundled up, and they got those tube heaters going on the bench, and they're all looking. I want the opposition looking like homeless guys on the lower part of Wacker Drive in Chicago, huddled around a barrel looking for warmth, lighting fires. Give me all that. Give me all that. Okay? So number 4, pray for cold, nasty Midwest weather and a warm, soft team coming to town. Number 5, win that battle. Ride the momentum into the next rounds against better teams. Maybe I'll expand on this list, but on the short time frame I've had to digest this is what I've come up with. What do you guys think? Let me know.